Yes, and I think it's quite natural if you are cutting or eliminating your fats, well, or reducing your fats and protein, then you are going to eat carbs. What else is there to eat, right? I mean, you have to eat. So that's what I used to do as a type 1 diabetic, because the advice was eat grains and whole grains and match your insulin. I think you mentioned about, the diabetics carb counting. Carb counting was a good skill. I mean, I'm very grateful. I attended several courses and count carb counting, but that didn't help me. That didn't improve my health. I was able to count the carbs, but matching the right amount of insulin to the carbs was a nightmare. That's almost impossible, as we now know. I didn't know back then, but we now know from Dr. Bernstein's work, you cannot 100% match insulin to carbs.
Absolutely. And then you end up with overshooting and undershooting and insulin stacking and all those things. So it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Why are type 1s told to eat lots of carbs? Just, it doesn't make much sense, does it? So but actually, I was, it was all about type 2 when we started out. But actually, the more you sort of dig into it, I suppose I've been like pulling on a thread, and the more I pulled, the more I learned, and the more I was fascinated. And then, I hadn't really considered people with type 1, because we don't have that many patients with type 1. And those we do have, we just don't really get involved with their care very much, because they're very much looked after in the hospital settings. But it just, when I came across, Dr. Bernstein and then Ian Lake, of course, I was just absolutely sort of bowled over by the fact that, why are we not using this approach in people with type 1 as well? Because it makes even more sense for them, because of the law of small numbers. It makes so much more sense.
Exactly. Law of small numbers and small errors. I mean, you are going to make errors. This isn't perfect, but the errors will be marginally small.